Seriously though, the red visor blocks dust entering the twin eye lens. Who does that remind me the most?
I've got you in my sights.
What is going on guys, MG2005 here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the high grade Gundam local type North American type from Gundam The Origin Mobile Suit Discovery. So this is another variant of the Gundam local type, previously being like the white and blue one, which looks pretty bland. But this one with the black and orange color scheme looks actually pretty good in my book. And since the original RX-78-1 Proto Gundam is of this similar color scheme, this guy is basically building the Proto Gundam. I remember correctly, there is no P Bandai kit for the Proto Gundam, but the third Gundam. So it is good to modify this guy into the Proto Gundam if you so choose. So for the stickers in the sticker sheet, you have the forehead camera, the eyes, the back of the head, and the V over here. Yeah, I believe that is it, except for all the decals, which I put all of them on. Because this guy would look extremely bland if you do not put on all the orange trimming. And a little bit of a backstory of my build, because I am such a careless person. I forgot to put on the forehead camera before I put on the V-fin. I was building this guy one-handedly while I was doing other things with my left hand. I pulled on the V-fin thinking that it would come off, but yep, I instead broke one antenna. But I think the glue is not that conspicuous, so I believe that's okay if I painted over it. And secondly, when I was trying to cut off the child safety pack with this, for some reason my nippers went ahead and cut the top layer of the plastic, so it looks a little bit ugly right now. And I am not gonna risk sanding that down because excess force would snap the horn. So that's why I'm not going ahead and cleaning that mess up. And then the backpack, well, these thrusters are surprisingly fun despite them using the crap side skirt polycaps from the 00 ages. These holsters over here can be interchanged with weapons, but they come off way too easily, so that's why I glued this on and I forcibly pulled it out just to do the interchanging, but I glued this on permanently because it is just so loose. I don't know why, but this is a whole new backpack for the local type Gundams. And I bet Bandai would just take into consideration that these holsters are going to be very loose due to the interchanging in armaments mechanic. But nope, these things are extremely loose and I had to glue one on. So for the articulation of this guy, the head is not using your typical double ball joint, it's using a plastic neck joint and then a plastic ball joint at the head. The arms are on the up swivel polycap over here. They can rotate. The arms can rotate above the elbow, bend at the elbow at two joints, and then they can go out that far. There's no panel to restrict them. Nice detailing, by the way, similar to Thunderbolt quality. And then the wrist will rotate and wiggle. It doesn't matter what gauntlet it has on. The waist is kind of tricky to move around because the gray section is just a block. I believe the regular local type Gundam is also having the same issues because the waist, the stomach specifically, is just a block, so you cannot really rotate it really far or do any like extravagant crunches. The front skirts move, side skirts move until it hits the block. The back skirt does not move at all. The legs have an interesting mechanic over here because it can it has like the real grade-esque leg gimmick, which allows the entire leg assembly to swivel forwards and back. So you can do some dynamic aerial poses. And then the legs can rotate at the hip. It can go forwards, backwards, outwards, relatively far despite the low mobility of the side skirt. A double jointed knee. And the angles on the top is on your like typical ball joint, and there is a polycap hinge at the feet. And sadly, this armor piece doesn't move. And then in the back, All of these middle thrusters can move on polycap ball joints, which stay on surprisingly well. But sadly, these two are stationary, which is fine by me because I do not want too much articulation of thrusters in a backpack. So the articulation of this guy is mediocre at best because the waist is very limited. But other than that, this guy can pull off some pretty decent poses. So for the accessories, let's start off with what it has on the body. So you have the two beam saber handles over here that are conveniently stored on the backpack in the typical Gundam style. Or the instructions showed you that you can plug them onto the arm over here. That's why there is a difference in the gauntlets. I don't know if the regular local type has the same gauntlet as this guy, but well, it is a pretty special feature to just store the beam sabers right on the gauntlet. And then this guy comes with another beam saber if you want to store it. So this guy has a total of 3 beam sabers, but only comes with 2 clear pink beams. So you can use them directly from the gauntlet if you so choose, or you can have one on the gauntlet being used and one for actual holding. So that is the beam sabers. And then you have the machine gun. I believe this fires off physical projectiles as well. I don't know, because this is a relative of the Proto Gundam, so I don't believe it uses beam weapons. And it has a peg on either side of the handle, so it can be a lefty or a righty, but it only provides you with a right trigger finger hand. So this guy can only hold the machine gun with his right hand. I never tried it with the regular hands, but it doesn't look as good because the trigger finger goes right over the trigger. It also has this moving part over here and also moving sub handle. And to put it on, you can just switch out the hands. Looking pretty nice there. This leads us to the first interchangeability of the backpack, the storing unit for the machine gun. Well, I didn't do any cleanup on this, so it's kind of in a bad quality right now, but I really do not care for this storage unit because I'm gonna allow the Gundam to use the machine gun anyways. So let me disarm. So the storing unit, I'm gonna plug it on like this. So you basically just peg the rifle in like so on the machine gun. Holds on pretty firmly, but then it all comes down to the backpack. I left it in a bit of a sorry state over here because I forcibly removed this after putting it on with hot glue, but thanks to the hot glue, it has pretty good friction, relatively good friction to than when it was first built. So I'd advise you use some nail polish or something to thicken up this peg, or thicken up the inside of the backpack so that this thing will not fall off, because within a few wiggles it just falls off, even with the increased friction inside. So that is the machine gun. And then you have the shield. The shield kind of resembles the one used by the EZ-8, but it is still from the Universal Century, so resemblances can appear. Has some nice decals over here. This is one entire sticker, by the way. Shows the iconic one and the EFF symbol. And it mounts onto the gauntlet, so you need to remove the beam sabers. But all is not lost because you can mount the beam sabers onto the shield. So the instructions tell you to mount them with the handles facing out. But I figured, why not go a little bit ballistic and crazy by mounting them on with the beam emitters facing out. So it could use the beam sabers directly from the shield. See these two holes over here? These two holes mount onto the same pegs that are on the left hand's gauntlet. So this could happen. Crazy, huh? But then the shield is also equipped with a stand of its own. So you rotate this mounting piece, flip down the stand, and then rotate this back down. Now I don't know why it needs this, but it's kind of a cool feature. Probably a leftover feature from the previous local type Gundam. And then here comes the second interchangeability of the backpack, the shield's mounting unit. So you peg it over here. Well, you can do this on the other side, by the way. I do not want to break the peg of this holster because I glued it on. Now that the mounting unit is facing the center, you can mount the shield onto the backpack. Just like so. And the weight distribution allows the unit to not fall off as easily. But, yep, within a few wiggles, well, the shield came off, but the unit is still mounted on the backpack. So I do recommend you thicken up the peg and these pegs to mount the shield on. But other than that, this is the best mounting unit that is on the backpack. Well, with the best being mentioned, let's get on to the worst, with the shoulder cannon. Well, I do not hate the weapon. It is a very good concept, just because you have like an overhead cannon like this. By the way, you mount it on by using this piece. This piece, obviously, I did a lot of modifications to it because I theorized the reasons why it doesn't stay on the backpack at all. I theorize it is just because of the long pegs over here, but when I cut them off, I tried to push the peg into the back. Nope, to no avail, it still falls up with one swing. But anyways, you have the articulation on the joint over here, so you can flip forward. And if you count the second joint that is at the base of the backpack, it is a double jointed cannon, so you just flip it out like so. But this thing seriously needs gluing on because I did a lot of modifications to it and it still didn't stay on at all. So if you want this thing to be permanently on the backpack, just heat glue it on or use some permanent glue. You really need to do a lot of modifications to let this thing stay on. A good weapon, bad implementation. I wonder what would happen if they released the RX-7802 Gundam in high grade form. But anyways, that is all the accessories for the Gundam local type, North American type. So with that, let's get on to the comparisons. So I have my Amazing Red Warrior off the shelf because I initially want to review the Lightning Black Warrior. Well, this thing is in a bit of a sorry state because it is one of my earlier Gundams that I've built. So quality is bad and it is left on the shelf for 2 years or 3 years, I don't know, a long period of time. But this kinda gives a brief idea of how the two would look when placed side by side. But then again, I prefer the look of this guy more because it's more detailed, more military-esque, more realistic. Well, if this guy makes it into the real grade line, I will be extremely happy. Well, what is stopping Bandai from releasing RX-7802 Gundam variants? Nothing. So I wouldn't be surprised if this guy makes it into the real grade line. But anyways, this is a pretty good kit at base. But then for the backpack, you really need to do some serious modifications and stiffening of joints in order to get it to work properly. Because, well,
the thing I have about this kit is that this is a whole new backpack. It's on the H plate. It's on a whole new plate specifically designed for the North American local type. So I don't know why did Bandai overlook these issues, which resulted in a crappy backpack.
But if you like these weapons, excuse the impracticality because you really need a lot of modifications to allow these weapons to work perfectly. But anyways, at base, this is a very good kit. So if you do not find it bothersome to modify the backpack, I would suggest this kit for beginners and veterans. So that is it for the review of this, guys. So thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did like it, please be sure to drop a like, comment, and also subscribe for more gaming videos on my other channel. I'm gonna put the link in the description below. Model reviews and all that kind of stuff. Subscribe to the featured channels on my channel page if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out, guys. Bye bye.